Hi everybody, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here at Railbookers for another of our presentations. And today, really excited to be talking about all things France with you and looking at some of our most popular trips for the summer ahead. We're seeing a huge amount of interest in people wanting to travel to France, and we're really looking forward to sharing some great destination ideas with you today. So thanks very much for tuning in. Also delighted to say that I've been joined by Magali Kennedy from SNCF, who's going to speak to you a little later in the presentation about the onboard experience and what you can expect from travelling around France by train. So we'll hear from Magali a little bit later on. For those of you who are familiar with Railbookers and understand what we do, I'm just going to take a few minutes at the beginning of the presentation for those who are perhaps newer to Railbookers. Before we get underway, though, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Anna Davis. I'm the marketing manager for Railbookers, and I'll be your host for our time together today. So, as I say, before we get into our most popular French trips, just a few general points on Railbookers to begin with, for those of you who are perhaps newer to our holidays and what we can offer. So we create independent, tailor-made holidays by rail, pretty much worldwide. Wherever the train goes, so do we. We can book up to 2 years in advance, taking you all the way through to 2024, which makes us really unique in the rail holiday space. And nothing about our itineraries is set in stone. So as we go through some of the French holidays today, we'll talk about how they can be made very flexible, what options you have, really to customize them to exactly what you want with nothing in them that you don't. So any destination, any date, any length of time, the choice is very much yours. As I say, these are independent trips. They're not escorted. You're not traveling as part of a group. So you do have that independence to really create the holiday that you are looking for. To help you with some holiday inspiration, we do have a range of digital brochures that you can access on our website at railbookers.co.uk. Huge range of different titles there, from closer to home with Scotland through to our worldwide trips, luxury holidays, as well as our sister brand Amtrak Vacations with our holidays across the USA. So do have a look on our website for those. Equally, though, you should be able to see them on your console to the right-hand side of your screen. You should be able to access our digital brochures from there as well. Now, as I mentioned, our holidays are independent. You're not travelling as part of a group, but whilst you are away, you do benefit from the support of our global locations. So we have colleagues in all of the countries on the screen, in Canada, in the States, here, of course, in the UK, and also in Australia. So there's always somebody awake across the Railbookers team should you need assistance whilst you're travelling. And lastly, not leastly, before I move into our French holidays, just to mention the rail partnerships that we have in place. Of course, SNCF, who we'll be talking with later today, but we work with a number of carriers around the world, just some of them on the screen here, to create very much a one-stop shop for our holidays. So we take care of the tickets, the rail passes, but also hotel accommodation, sightseeing, excursions, flights, transfers, you name it, really every element of the holiday that you'll need. And as I say, all of that can be truly tailored and personalised to you and those travelling with you. So without further ado, let's head to the sunshine. Well, it's pretty sunny here today too, but going to take you first of all to the south of France. And we're going to start with our Côte d'Azur, Nice and Cannes trip. This is a 7-day holiday with a starting price of £899 per person. It's a really straightforward trip, really making the most of the seamless travel on the high-speed network. So you'll start with a Eurostar journey from London to Paris. You'll change in Paris from the Gare du Nord to the Gare de Lyon, and you will travel down to the south of France to Nice, first of all, for a 3-night stay. And whilst you're in Nice, you'll have a day trip along the coast to Monaco. And then you'll travel towards Cannes for a further 3-night stay there before returning back on the rails via Paris and then on Eurostar back to St Pancras. Now, a couple of things to mention, really. Depending on where you're starting your journey from, we may suggest an overnight stay in London the night before, so that you're in London ready nice and early to travel on the Eurostar the following day. And we can book rail from any local UK station, so we can start your holiday from your nearest local station to where you live. We can also, though, if you prefer, you can travel down to London, travel on the Eurostar, and stay in Paris overnight before then travelling down to the south of France the following morning. So it really depends on how far it is you're coming from to London and whether you'd prefer to stay overnight in London the night before or in Paris partway through, or indeed if you're relatively close to London, you can do the whole journey in one day. So choice very much up to you. So a couple of sides of these fantastic destinations then. Nice here, of course, famous for its Promenade des Anglais right on the coast, but also a huge amount to discover behind in Nice. A huge amount of art history, actually, including Marc Chagall. Lots of different museums to enjoy, as well as soaking up the sunshine. As I mentioned, you do also have a day trip along the rails to Monaco, and that journey itself, although not a scenic train as such, a regional train from Nice to Monaco return, is hugely scenic, hugs very close to the Mediterranean coast, some fantastic views as you travel, and then a full day in Monaco, living the life of the rich and famous before you return back to Nice. You'll also then have 3 nights in Cannes. Again, much more to Cannes than just the film festival. It has a fantastic old town. You have a guided tour whilst you're there to discover that, and you can climb up the hills behind the main town for fantastic views over the wider area. But a lovely place to soak up the sun and spend a few days. Now, staying in the south of France, but a slightly different location here, looking at now our Avignon and the highlights of Provence holiday. This is a 6-day trip with a starting price of £1,049. So again, the journey starts with a Eurostar from London to Paris, but this time then you'll travel down to Avignon on the high-speed network, and you're there for 5 nights, using Avignon very much as a base to explore the wider area with a number of day trips. So you have a day trip to Orange, which includes also a wine tasting at Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and then you also have day trips to Nîmes and Arles, done by train independently from Avignon station, as well as a day trip to the famous Pont du Gard and a number of scenic villages around the area as well. So that's to Roussillon and Les Baux de Provence there too. So lots included in this, using Avignon, spectacular city, as your base. And don't overlook exploring Avignon whilst you're there, of course, famous for its Palace of the Popes, with its long-standing history there, and some fantastic events take place there over the summer. There are very often concerts, different festivals in the city centre in summertime, which is great to be involved in. Also lots of locations to sit and enjoy a glass of rosé somewhere in one of the shady squares too. So a great base and really well located to explore the wider Roman history of the area, not least here at the Pont du Gard. And as I mentioned, you have a guided tour picking you up from your hotel, taking you to the Pont du Gard and surrounding villages. And then using the local regional services, you will also have day trips out to Orange and to Nîmes, all of which have fabulous Roman remains, amphitheatres included. And then lastly, you'll also have some time in Arles, which alongside the Roman history also has, of course, huge connections to Van Gogh and has a Van Gogh museum there to explore as well. So lots to see and do, but using Avignon very much as your base to explore the wider area. Now, moving up to northern France, we're going to have a look now at Strasbourg, Colmar and Basel. Now, this is a 6-day holiday combining stays in Strasbourg and Basel with a day trip out to Colmar. It's a starting price of £1,119. It's a great holiday to do at any time of the year. Towards the end of the year, you, of course, have the Christmas markets coming for Strasbourg and Colmar particularly, but it's also a great place, great area to spend some time in the summer too. So you'll travel on Eurostar to Paris. We'll change in Paris from the Gare du Nord to the Gare de l'Est, just a short 10-minute walk between those two stations, and then you'll travel east to Strasbourg, and you'll have 3 nights in Strasbourg. Fantastic city. Its geography makes it a really interesting location, of course. It has changed hands many a time between the French and the German in its history, and has a really unique atmosphere, and certainly a unique cuisine, including some of the famous specialities like the Flammkuchen, which is already making me hungry. You'll then, from Strasbourg, have a day trip out to Colmar with its fantastic cobblestone streets, and you do have the opportunity to sample some of the region's wine there. Riesling, particularly well known in Colmar, And then you'll also finally have 2 nights in Basel over the Swiss border, a 2-night stay there before then returning on the direct service back to Paris. And now this is also one perhaps to consider if you are perhaps taking a river cruise from Basel, or perhaps coming back into Basel. Then you could take a variation of this trip either side of your river cruise to extend your stay and be away for longer. So something to bear in mind there as well. So let's have a look at some of these destinations. Strasbourg, for example, here, this is the old town known as Petit France. In the summer, has these fantastic displays of geraniums and flowers over the water. Lots of beautiful restaurants located on the riverside, and some lovely locations to visit, not least the cathedral and some of the older squares to wander around. Colmar, very similar in its look and feel, and you can see, as I mentioned, the geography and the history of the region very much reflected in the architecture. And if you were travelling between November and end of December, you'll also, of course, have the Christmas markets to visit in Colmar. And then on to Basel, a very French flavour to this Swiss city, I would say, and also has some great old streets to explore, the cathedral there on the top, and really well located, relatively compact, small and easy to explore, and as I say, a great base perhaps pre a river cruise departure. Now next, I would like to take you to Paris and the Normandy beaches, and we have a number of itineraries that include stays in Bayeux and Normandy, but this one is our 5-day trip with a starting price of £699. So again, it will start with a Eurostar taking you from London to Paris, and you'll then connect to travel north on a regional train from Paris up to Bayeux, and we have you in Bayeux for a couple of nights. And whilst you're there, you have time to explore Bayeux itself, of course, and visit the Bayeux Tapestry. But you also have really the highlight of this trip is a guided tour, a guided trip out to Gold Beach and Arromanches to pay homage to the D-Day events there. And you can, if you want, make that a longer full-day tour. We have lots of different tours of that area available, depending on which beaches, which part of that history you would like to enjoy, explore. So please do ask our rail experts for that, because we can tailor that exactly to what you're looking for. So we'll start with Paris, really a city that needs no introduction, but we can arrange any sorts of sightseeing that you're interested in here. If you'd like, skip the line access up the Eiffel Tower. If you'd like a secret walking tour, food tour, there are lots of different excursions that we can arrange for you in advance in Paris. You'll then travel up to Bayeux and have a couple of nights here, as I say. Time to visit the Bayeux Tapestry, to explore the old town. Lots of sort of old mill working streets in Bayeux. It's a lovely place to spend a few days. And you will, of course, have that trip up to Arromanches, as I mentioned, to Gold Beach, of course, famous for its part in the D-Day landings, and still has part of the Mulberry, the artificial harbour that was created for the D-Day landings, visible there to visit. Played a huge part, of course, in 1944, and we can include additional sightseeing parts on this very special trip if you'd like to. Now, lastly but not leastly, before I hand over to Magali, wanted to give you a final holiday to consider here for France, which is our gastronomic capitals of France, taking in a number of the areas that we've already explored on a slightly longer itinerary with an 11-day trip here starting from £1,549. So this is really based on a round trip around France from Paris. So you'll start on a Eurostar to Paris, have a couple of nights stay there before then travelling first of all southeast. So you'll start in Dijon, have a 3-night stay in Dijon with a day trip out to Beaune in the heart of Burgundy. You'll have a 2-night stay in Lyon, and then you'll then follow the rails round south via Nîmes, Toulouse, and up to Bordeaux. You have a 2-night stay in Bordeaux before then travelling back to Paris for a final night stay, and then your Eurostar home. So if food and drink is something that you enjoy, particularly of the French variety, then this trip has a huge amount of highlights in it. And we'll have a look at some of the destinations now. So Dijon, of course, in the heart of Burgundy, famous for a number of things, not least its mustard. and a huge amount of workshops that you can visit in Dijon to see it being made by hand. Excuse me. You also have the wider Burgundy wines to sample, and the roof tiles are also one of the famous things from the heritage of the Dukes of Burgundy there. And they are some of the most spectacular in the world, really, and not, and Beaune, where you have a day trip, has some of the finest examples. So these roof tiles here, synonymous with the Burgundy region, and this is the Hotel de Ville and the Hospice de Beaune, where you can visit on the day trip there, visible throughout the wider area, but these are some of the finest examples. You'll then travel down to Lyon, the gastronomic capital of France, as it's known. Has a fantastic old town and an area reached by a funicular railway to travel up on the hillside to look over. Lyon has a fantastic indoor market to visit on the outskirts, really accessible, as well as some fantastic local delicacies, including the praline brioche, which I talk about regularly on these webinars. So do hope if you visit there that you have time to sample. You'll then also visit in Bordeaux. You have a 2-night stay there. And in all of our trips to Bordeaux, we do include entrance to La Cité du Vin, which is a museum famous and dedicated to the production of wine and the Bordeaux area. Huge amount of opportunity to sample lots of different wines, to enjoy lunch included there as well, and a real highlight of any trip to Bordeaux for sure. Now, very lastly, not leastly, just to mention that France is, of course, so well connected on the rails that it's really easy to combine it with stays in other countries to other areas. So just wanted to touch on a few additional holidays to consider that you can combine France with beyond destinations. So, for example, Paris and Amsterdam, great combination of cities, really easy to reach on the high-speed network. Looking slightly further afield, you could travel out to Spain and travel back through France on our Barcelona, Carcassonne, Bordeaux and Paris quadruple city stay. You also have a huge opportunity through France to reach the Alps area and looking here into Italy as well. So Paris, Venice and Vienna as a trio of destinations. Fantastic 7-day holiday there for £1,389. And lastly but not leastly, perhaps Paris, Bordeaux and the Basque country, taking you down through France to then visit northern Spain with San Sebastian and Bilbao. So I hope that's given you some destination ideas. I'm now going to hand over to Magali, as I say, from SNCF, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the onboard experience. So Magali, over to you.
Merci Anna. Bonjour. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you today about SNCF and how you're going to be traveling to those beautiful destinations that Anna described. I think she's the best ambassador of French holidays and the gastronomic capitals of France. Oh, I would like to do that very much right now. So please let me introduce myself. I'm Magali, and I'm the head of sales of UK and Ireland for SNCF. And I would like to take you through the onboard experience, but first of all, give you a little bit of history about SNCF and try to compare it to what we have in the UK. And Anna, if you're so kind to go to the next slide, thank you so much. So first of all, in terms of history, SNCF was made of, up until just before 1937, it was made of 5 independent railways, and after 37 became one. So it used to be very much what the UK looks like today in terms of train travel, with different franchises, if we can compare it. SNCF is a huge organization in France. It's the 7th biggest employer, and it's government owned, meaning that Emmanuel Macron himself appoints the MD of SNCF. Now, in terms of infrastructure and lines and turnover employees, trains per day, it's the French railways and the UK rail infrastructure varies a lot. So we have about 30,000 kilometers of lines in France, and in the UK it's about 16. High speed is where the real difference is. We have 2,500 kilometers of high speed, but in the UK only 140 kilometers. This is set to change, but so far it's quite a contrasting difference. What I find really interesting is the top speed of TGV that you will no doubt be taking for those fabulous itineraries. the TGV top speed, as well as Eurostar, is 320 kilometers an hour, while the top speed in the UK is 170 kilometers per hour. Now, Anna, a little question to you. Did you know that the SNCF jingle inspired a very famous song? Did you know about it?
I did not, no.
Ah, okay. Well, David Gilmour from the Pink Floyd was traveling on our trains and really liked the jingle, which I cannot try to reproduce. And he liked it so much that he created a song called Rattle That Lock. So when you have some time, just go on YouTube and look for Rattle That Lock. You will no doubt recognize the SNCF jingle. Right, let's move on to the next slide and let's talk about the environment. You have chosen to look through holidays via train travel, and you've made the choice, or you're just about to make a very, very environmentally friendly choice to travel to these fabulous destinations by train. Train is 50 times less polluting than car and 80 times less polluting than plane. So thank you for making that green choice. The figures that you can see on this slide are, we're comparing with shared cars. We're not comparing one passenger according to one passenger on a car. We're just comparing what the reality really is. How is it very eco-friendly? Then it's more than what you may think. All our drivers are trained to do eco-driving. It means that they will use the less possible amount of energy to drive the train. So put more energy when they go up a slope, but less energy when they go down a slope. It's also due to the aerodynamism of our rolling stock to reduce as much as possible the energy consumption. We also do eco-parking, and eco-parking means when trains are at depot, we keep the doors closed to save on heating or air conditioning as well, trying to minimize any energy loss. And we have a very ambitious plan, which is to have 50% power traction via solar energy by 2025, which is practically tomorrow. Right, let's move on to how we're going to get to these beautiful destinations that Anna mentioned. Well, you're very likely to be able to take a TGV Inouï for the longer distance within France. So these are our top high-speed train services. They have two floors, the top and the bottom hall, where there's a big debate. What do you prefer, to be on the top floor or the lower floor? I myself prefer the top floor, but hey, it's a matter of personal taste. TGV will take you to 200 destinations in France at top speeds of 300 kilometers per hour. The next one is TER, Transport Express Régional. These are the local trains, non-high-speed trains, and they are serving, they're linking cities within the same region. And the last one, non-high speed, is intercity trains, and they will link regions that are not, cities that are not in the same region. So these are the three types of trains we have in France, and you're very likely to experience most of them during your stays on Anna's lovely itineraries. I don't really have much to add to Anna's presentation. You know the map of France already. She has taken you through great ideas of these lovely itineraries. As she mentioned, via SNCF, you can also travel outside of France. But I personally think what she has presented is absolutely great. And once again, these gastronomic capitals, I would like them to go very much. Now, let's look on how you're going to be traveling in your TGV accommodation. So the one that you're seeing right now is TGV Atlantique, and I would like to take you through the various classes of service and the various classes of comfort. So it starts from second class, then you go to première classe, and the last one is business première. So let's start with second class and première class. So in second class and première class, in terms of number of seats, once again, it varies by rolling stock, but you have about 90 seats in second class per carriage and about 60 in first class per carriage. Everybody will be able to access a socket in order to charge mobile phones and take pictures when there are scenic views. And if you're feeling a little bit hungry, then you can go to the buffet bar. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the buffet bar in this upcoming slides. Now, the highest class of service that we have is called Business Premier. And the service really starts well before you board the train. So you have access to the Grand Voyageur lounges when the Grand Voyageur lounges are available. You have a dedicated ticket desk available for you. You have priority boarding. And on the picture here that you see the meet and greet by SNCF staff to take you to Business Premier. They will usually give you a refreshment and then you will be able to board the train. You have adjustable first class seats, they're reclining seats. You have on Paris-Lyon complimentary snack given to you, but should you still feel hungry after that, you can absolutely order some food from the buffet bar, which you'll have to pay for, but will be brought to you by the onboard staff to your seat. You'll have access to digital newspapers and you have one electric socket per seat. So it is definitely in Business Premier the most comfortable way to travel on TGV Inouï. Right, let's carry on talking about food. It seems like it's the theme of the day. So I wanted to take you through the buffet bar, the offering of the buffet bar, and our sustainable onboard catering. So most of the onboard offering is made in France, and a good third of the products are certified organic or coming from sustainable agriculture. The sandwiches, anything we sell on board is free of preservative, coloring, artificial flavoring. That's really important to us. And don't be surprised when you're on board that if you're not given the wooden stirrers or the sugars or napkins, you'll have to ask for them. We're trying to reduce the waste on board of our trains. And also, our napkins, paper bags, it's all recyclable. And for glasses, that will be returned at the end of the journey to the buffet bar in order to be recycled. Let's now look at the Grand Voyageur lounges. So before the journey starts, then you can go to the Grand Voyageur lounges where you'll find complimentary newspapers, hot drinks, mobile phone charging facilities, TV screens, a digital bar, desks, ticket office in case you need to change your tickets, and any type of information that you require about either your journey or our loyalty program will be easily accessible once you're in the Grand Voyageur lounges. Just before we finish, I would like to present to you the new TGV that's gonna be launched in 2024. So the TGV, the shape of the TGV changes slightly. It's even more ergonomic than it was before. And because it's more ergonomic and because everything is rethought on board of the new TGV, will make it more recyclable. Right now, a current TGV is recyclable at 92%. I don't know if you knew this, Anna, but this is a great achievement already to be able to recycle an entire 92% of an entire TGV. By 2024, with the new TGV, we are going up to 97%. That's going to help us improve also our carbon footprint by 37% and generate more energy savings of 20%, while we'll be able to increase the capacity by 20%. So please look forward to 2024. I know I am very much looking forward to that and go on board of this new TGV. Last but not least, TGV, the COVID measures on board the TGV are always, and on board of all domestic trains, are always front of mind. So on board the TGVs, you will still find that there is regular cleaning on board of the trains on all the contact areas, doors, buttons, toilets, everything is cleaned on a regular basis. So it's important to try and continue to respect social distanciation wherever possible, and that's it for the COVID update. Anna, this concludes my presentation, and I hope that this is informative.
Thanks, Magali. Appreciate the update. So, yeah, that's it from Magali and I. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you found that tour of France giving you some inspiration for your next holiday with Railbookers. Don't forget, if you have any questions whilst you're watching this on demand, you can submit a question on the console there, and one of our team will get back to you. A reminder that you can access all of our digital brochures on the links on your screen as well. But should you have any inquiries or you'd like any more information, please do give us a call. We're on 0203 780 2222, and we're open Monday to Friday. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you joining us. Stay safe, stay well, and we hope to see you again on another of our presentations. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.